Yo, last night I saw Thor Love and Thunder, and this is going to be my spoiler-filled thoughts on the film, so if you haven't seen it, get the heck out of here. Before I jump into Thor Love and Thunder, I just briefly want to touch on Phase 4 of the MCU. Now, the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, each movie in the film could all have, they could all have their own story, but they all also have to intertwine and tell one overarching story. They all have to build through something. There's something that I think is the genius of phases 1 through 3, how they were all ultimately about building the Avengers and culminating to the Avengers versus Thanos and Thanos' quest for the Infinity Stones, and how in many ways Thanos, his ultimate goal was to save the universe. A lot of the phase 1 through 3 had some incredible just writing of an overall story being told through multiple different movies to come to this ultimate culmination, which was Infinity War and Endgame. We have had so many movies and TV shows now in Phase 4 of Marvel, and I still don't know what the overarching story is of Phase 4. I don't know who the main character, like in Phase 1 through 3, it was like Cap and Tony were sort of the leads of the Avengers, and everything that was going on, in some way you felt their presence through every single film. In Phase 4 of Marvel, I have not known who the main character is, who is leading this, and who is leading this to what? What are they leading us to? What is the ultimate story? What is the ultimate bad guy? Where are we going with this? I haven't loved any of the films in Phase 4. Spider-Man No Way Home I really liked, but I didn't care for Shang-Chi, I didn't care for the Eternals, I did not like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness at all, and Thor Love and Thunder was pretty entertaining. It was pretty funny and silly and ridiculous, but in the end, who's gonna rewatch Thor Love and Thunder multiple times, and who's really gonna take something away? I start to think with these MCU shows, are they really trying to make great films, or are they just trying to give you another piece of something that makes you happy because it makes you happy to see Thor and to hear jokes? Like when Christopher Nolan put out The Dark Knight, we still talk about Dark Knight to this day. That movie came out 14 years ago, but I'm still referencing it in a modern day film review. Do you think in 2036 I'm going to be referencing Thor Love and Thunder in a film review? Probably not. We're probably going to forget about this film a year from now, and we'll only probably reference it if we're reviewing Thor 17. This movie starts out with Thor hanging out with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and that was some of my favorite parts of the film. Those first 20 minutes, I was actually really enjoying the comedy and the goofiness and the silliness of it. Thor does at one point this like spinning wheel kick on this car or something, and I just found it hilarious. Then he's doing these splits and it's so goofy and so ridiculous, and Thor has just become a complete kind of a moron at this point. But as the film goes on and Thor is a complete moron for like 2 hours straight, he becomes kind of annoying, and I feel like there's quite a bit of inconsistencies with his character. If you watch now all 4 Thor films, the character goes from like serious and like kind of smart but just an alien to Earth, and now where he's at now, he's just an absolute idiot. The comedy in this film is enjoyable at first, but it become too much. It's too much of a joke. I thought Thor Ragnarok did a great job of sprinkling in comedy but still making you feel like you're watching a somewhat serious film. This felt like I was watching an Austin Powers movie. The action in this film is fine, but the thing is, when you think of great action films, like Top Gun Maverick just came out, that's a great action film. The Raid 1 and 2, Mad Max Fury Road. Again, these are films that I'm still going to reference years from now, and I'm still thinking of years since they've been released as great action films. I will not be thinking of any single action scene in Thor Love and Thunder within a month. I've already forgotten them. Thor Love and Thunder is an hour and 59 minutes. It is definitely one of the shortest MCU films, and the best part of the film to me was easily Christian Bale as Gorr the God Butcher. I really enjoyed everything about him. The opening 5 minutes of Gorr the God Butcher losing his daughter and killing his first god is pretty great, is pretty incredible, and his character brought a really horror vibe to the film. Forget Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where they're saying that's the first MCU horror film. I'd argue that Gorr the God Butcher, as a character in himself, makes Thor Love and Thunder way more of a horror film than Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness ever was. The biggest problem with the film for me is that while Gorr the God Butcher was the best part of the film, there wasn't nearly enough of him. I thought when he was on screen, my eyes were glued to the screen. I loved the whole horror presence and everything he brought, so outshining everyone with his performance. But his name is Gorr the God Butcher. You don't see Gorr the God Butcher butcher one single god in this film. The first god he kills to become Gorr the God Butcher was before he was Gorr the God Butcher. After he gets that first kill and he gets the Necromancer sword, he does not kill a single god. I think he was such a wasted character because Bale was phenomenal as him. He was just such a cool looking villain. He was scary and ominous and dark and creepy and reminded me of Voldemort, but you don't see him do much. You see gods that he killed, but you don't see him killing the gods. All he really does in the film is spawn these CGI aliens out of the ground to attack people, but he doesn't kill anyone. He should have killed Thor. He should have killed Valkyrie. He should have killed everybody. And this film should have been centered on Gorr and his story about his daughter that he lost and his vengeance quest on the gods. I thought it was so cool, but then we keep getting taken away from Gorr and barely get any Gorr in the film to see Thor and Korg telling jokes nonstop and being ridiculous. I really like the Matt Damon cameo when they're doing the play again, like from Thor Ragnarok. This movie had its funny moments, it had its emotional beats with Jane dying and everything at the end, but overall, it's not a memorable film to me. And Gorr the God Butcher, while he had such great potential to be a great villain, they didn't use him nearly enough and didn't do nearly enough with him. And it's sad that he's dead now because you can't do any more with him. He's dead. For me, Thor Love and Thunder, I enjoyed watching it, but it's a full day later and I can't picture myself rewatching this movie. And the more I think about it, the more disappointed I've gotten with it. So as a grade, I'd give Thor Love and Thunder a C-. This is probably my least favorite directed Taika Waititi film that I've seen. I think Thor Ragnarok is a much better film, and this only saddens me that Taika Waititi is directing a Star Wars film. The new Star Wars trilogy to me just felt so much like the MCU, where it's just non-stop jokes and quips and action and CGI and explosions, and that's what the new trilogy felt like to me. And now you've got a Marvel director that has fallen so deeply into that MCU genre of non-stop jokes and explosions and CGI and green screen and stuff, and now he's making a Star Wars movie. I'm just not excited. Why isn't the guy who made Top Gun Maverick making a Star Wars movie? Why is Star Wars so focused on comedians making movies? Star Wars isn't supposed to be a comedy film. Anyways, Thor Love and Thunder, what do you think of the film? I was slightly entertained while watching it. I enjoyed it much more than Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But when it's all said and done, a day later, I've already forgotten most of the film. And that's my problem with so many of these modern day comic book movies. Are they just trying to give you stuff that you recognize to make you happy? Or are they trying to make memorable films that we're going to reference 14 years later, like The Dark Knight? Visit my Etsy, etsy.com/shop/evilbroomstick. I make hand-painted horror hats. This hat's based on Friday the 13th, the final chapter, the poster for it. I also make Xenomorph hats, Predator hats, Babadook hats, Halloween hats. All hats based on horror films and my favorite horror properties. Check it out, etsy.com/evilbroomstick. Buy yourself one. Peace, much love.